No one thought a guy like Nick Persons would settle down. But now he's a family man.
There's something that we really need to talk about this morning.
Who's about to get a big surprise.
Coco, get down.
Honey, I'm pregnant.
So they're leaving the city behind.
Where's the mall?
You need to get a little fresh air and open spaces.
I think I'm gonna be sick.
Now?
Right now.
Pregnant lady coming through!
For a new life in the country.
The place was built in 1889. It's a really amazing place to raise a family.
Can we really afford this house?
She is a fixer-upper.
Guess what? I can do the fixing. We'll take it.
Now they're getting close to nature.
When you with me, it's nothing to be scared of. But that.
And experiencing the joys of family life.
I can fix that.
I think you should just call a contractor. Are we done yet? Now do you want the number?
This spring,
You're the local real estate guy.
I'm also the local contractor.
You got dry rot. Dry what?
he may be in over his head.
What is this? Phase 1.
But he's about to realize he's not just building a home. He's building a family.
I know it's been kind of hard making the move and all. I think you're a cool son.
And you're a cool dad.
Kevin! You messed with the wrong kid!
Would you like to give thanks?
Why, are we going home?
I got this. I give thanks to all the wonderful creatures that surround us. Thank you for the support of my family. And most of all, for putting us in this beautiful home.
At least the table's strong.
I can fix that.
Are we done yet?
Honey, what was that?
The raccoon. You think you bad? I got it! Did I get him?
No.
Funny, that's what everyone was saying when they were watching this movie. Are we done yet? Can we wrap this up already? And, no, we can't, unfortunately. But, as you see in the trailer, in this movie, you have Ice Cube and Nia Long once again playing the newlyweds Nick and Suzanne Parsons, and they decide to move to the suburbs to provide a better life for their two kids, Lindsay and Kevin, but their idea of a dream home is disturbed by a contractor, played by John C. McGinley, with a bizarre approach to business. I said before, with Wild Hogs, they were really trying to push John C. McGinley as the next big movie star. Of course, he'd been a character actor for so many years, but his work as Dr. Cox on Scrubs, basically led Hollywood to think he was going to be the next big deal, but, never really went that route. But this was actually based off of a remake. This is actually originally supposed to be a remake of Mr. Blandings Builds His Dream House, and they basically turned that into a sequel that, it's about what you expect it to be, a generic comedy sequel that's not funny, not clever, and just, lazy callbacks to the first movie. Like, we gotta have the deer in there because the deer was in the first movie. We gotta have we gotta have lines that we used in the first film. We gotta use them now for the mother in this movie who's now pregnant. Like, stuff like that. It is what you think it is once you get into it. And, there was a much funnier version of the storyline done better. And it's not Mr. Blandings Builds His Dream House. It's a movie called The Money Pit, which was another movie about a couple that buys a house, a really nice-looking house for very cheap, only to realize that the house is completely and utterly trashed. The walls are crumbling down, the floors are breaking open, the stairs literally fall apart, the electricity almost takes out the entire kitchen. Just chaos happens. It's a much funnier movie than anything in this pile of garbage, and this is without a doubt the worst thing Ice Cube has ever done in terms of movies, and that's not really saying a whole lot because. But then again, no, I take that back. Ice Cube, I like Ice Cube a lot, but a lot of his movies he does have not been the best movies overall, and it's not really his fault. It's just that the scripts he's given are not really that clever or funny to work with, or entertaining to work with as a whole. Not really funny, but look at XXX State of the Union a few years ago. Like, he probably could have been a replacement for Vin Diesel, but unfortunately the script wasn't very good. And yeah, here the script isn't very good, and it just falls into predictable territory that we've seen done to death so many times before. And and this was only made because the first movie was such a success, and then this comes out, doesn't make any bit of the money that the first movie did, because the first movie was released over Martin Luther King Jr. weekend when no family competition was out there. You're releasing this right in the middle of stuff like TMNT, Meet the Robinsons, Blades of Glory. Some families went to go see Blades of Glory instead of this. I mean, just common sense would tell you, like, if you're releasing this with a bunch of other competition, chances are it's not going to do very well. And not a shocker, this movie didn't do very well, and it doesn't help that the movie isn't funny either. Jokes that you've seen done to death before so many times, humor that's not funny whatsoever. It's just the typical bad family comedy sequel that just exists to make a quick buck because the first movie was such a success, and you could tell nobody put real effort into this movie. Nobody really wanted to do this movie, except they did it because the first movie was a success, and they got a bigger paycheck out of it. And there was also a TV series that came out of the original Are We There Yet too, so I guess this is considered a franchise, but yeah, I don't know, man. The first movie wasn't even that great to begin with, and this one definitely takes the cake on how not to make me want to come back to these movies, or anyone to want to come back to these movies anytime soon. So that is Are We Done Yet? So let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, which is arguably the best movie of the entire weekend, and it's actually two movies: Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino's Grindhouse.
Some movies have certain scenes that cannot be previewed on television. I made you something. This movie has them all. So, how about a lap dance? On April 6th, directors Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino join forces to create a movie experience like you've never seen before. Grindhouse. This film is not yet rated.
Because when I think of a movie to put out on Easter weekend, I want to put out an homage to exploitation films in the 1970s. That's the way to go, but, yeah, we'll talk about why this movie didn't do so well in just a little bit here. But this is Grindhouse. This is two feature films put together, one by Quentin Tarantino, one by Robert Rodriguez. And you have two movies here. First off, you have Planet Terror, which is a horror comedy written and directed by Robert Rodriguez about a group of survivors who battle zombie-like creatures. And Rose McGowan, I almost forgot her name. Rose McGowan plays a woman who has a gun for where her leg was, because of course she got bitten by her leg got taken away from zombies. And then there's Death Proof, which is a slasher film written and directed by Quentin Tarantino about Kurt Russell, who's a murderous stuntman who kills young women with modified vehicles. And the cast that includes not only McGowan and Russell, but Freddie Rodriguez, Michael Biehn, Jeff Fahey, Josh Brolin, Marley Shelton, Rosario Dawson, Vanessa Felito, Jordan Ladd, Sidney Tamia Portier, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Zoe Bell. A lot of good names all attached throughout the movie. And there's also trailers directed by people like Rob Zombie, Edgar Wright, Eli Roth, and Jason Eisner. Some of those have actually gone on to become films of their own. The Machete movies, for example, and Hobo with a Shotgun, and most recently, Eli Roth's Thanksgiving. The movie, it's a fun experience overall, but there's a lot of things you could tell that was probably not going to work to the film's advantage in terms of the box office. Like I said before, releasing on an Easter weekend. I know Sin City came out around the same time on Easter of 2005, but there's a major difference between Sin City and Grindhouse coming out on Easter weekend. Sin City, I think, it was mostly because it was one movie, and it just had more of an appeal visually that made people want to go see it. With this is a very selective group of people that's going to go see this movie, and you can promote it as much as you want to, but there's only going to be a specific group of people that's going to go see a movie like this on Easter weekend. Wouldn't have done better if it was released in the months of August or September or maybe even January? Probably. I think probably that should have been the way they should have gone with it overall. But 2 is the runtime, because you got two movies as well as a series of trailers. This thing runs at over 3 hours long, and yeah. Most people, unless you have an audience that really wants to see a massive extended movie. I mean, people will sit for 3 hours to watch stuff like the Lord of the Rings movies, the Harry Potter films. Oppenheimer was over 3 hours long last year, and and everyone went to go see it. But in the case of this, like, you have these two films in general, and it just, you're sitting there for all that time. You don't really get like an intermission overall because you want to sit there and watch the trailers by these directors that also have cameos throughout the course of those as well. Like Nicolas Cage is in one for what was the trailer? I think it was Werewolf Women of the SS. I think it was the Rob Zombie trailer in this, but yeah, it's just like. It also didn't really help that the marketing was also very specific on who was going to go see this. Like, you needed to be... It's like, if they were really going to push this, they should have pushed it everywhere. It shouldn't have just been, like, stuff to be promoted exclusively on, like, Adult Swim or MTV or these specific areas in general. Like, this movie really was going to have a hard time finding an audience in general, but... The good news is it did eventually find its audience. It did find its audience mostly through home media and through streaming and all that stuff. Like, it has gone on to have that cult following to it, which it rightfully deserves. It deserves to have that cult following overall. And I'll say this. If I'm going to choose which one's the better... the movies could have also been equally as good, because... I like Planet Terror. I like the idea of it. I like Rose McGowan actually has a nice role, has a really good role in here as this go-go dancer that gets involved in here, and she loses her leg and uses the machine gun and she uses the machine gun as a leg. Like, that's a cool, fun idea. Unfortunately, the rest of the film is kind of bland for the most part. Like, there's not really a whole lot of exciting things about it in general, but the real highlight of the movie is Death Proof, which is a really good movie, which is a really good, intense movie in general, because you're seeing Kurt Russell being this suave, sophisticated guy at first, and then when his intentions get out there, and just like, he is very menacing in this movie, the multiple times that he does this in this movie, and I like the fact that the main focus of the movie is this incredible chase scene featuring these leading actresses involved in it, played by Zoe Bell, Rosario Dawson, and Tracy Toms. They really do work as these women that at first they're trying to get away from Kurt Russell, and then one situation happens when Kurt Russell gloats too much, and then they get a shot off, and then it's just like the tables turn, and it just leads to one of the most satisfying sequences of anything I've ever seen in a movie like this. I mean, this is a good movie. This is a really good movie that has a lot of things that work. Great comedy, great drama, great tension, great action, great car chases, just great music in general. It's a really good movie, and it really is the best of the two movies, hands down. And yeah, I think if the Planet Terror had a little more juice to it, actually had a lot more things about it that would have made it much more special, this would have been something that was a must-see all the way across the board. But as it is, it's a really good movie. It's a really good combination of two films. One's definitely a lot better than the others, and yeah, it's a film that I think was going to have a real hard time making its money back at the box office anyway, but it has found its audience over the years. It has eventually made its money back in multiple ways than one, and yeah, it's a fun time overall. I was really fortunate to see it in theaters, and I had a good time with it. I could see why a lot of people would be very much mixed about it overall, but yeah. Good fun time overall, Grindhouse. Speaking of movies that probably should not have been released around Easter weekend, let's talk about our next movie, which is very similar. Hilary Swank in The Reaping.
I'm not worried that this is a play.
As an Old Testament play?
The Reaping is a terrific thriller that will keep you on the edge of your seat.
It's human blood. The whole damn river.
It's suspenseful and thrilling. God has sent me a message. You're in danger. A powerful, scary movie.
Are you going to kill my baby? No. Why not? How do we know it's real?
The Reaping, rated R, starts Thursday, April 5th.
Well, the reason she's not going to kill your daughter is because we wouldn't have a movie then. She probably should have killed your daughter, but I digress. This is The Reaping, and I think you can kind of see some of the problems with this movie going into it, but the death of a child in mysterious circumstances sparks a series of events that seem to represent biblical plagues, which start occurring in, of all places, a town called Haven, that is located deep in the bowels of the Bible Belt County in the country in the bayous of Louisiana. Good Lord. A former Christian missionary turned religious I cannot speak today. A former Christian missionary turned religious phenomena debunker, played by Hilary not played by Hilary Swank, and her top open-minded student, that's the one who's played by Hilary Swank. I'm having trouble reading this. This is... Okay, let me start again. Let me just start all over again. The death of a child in mysterious circumstances sparks a series of events that seem to represent biblical plagues, which start occurring in, of all places, the town called Haven, that is located deep in the bowels of the Bible Belt country in the bayous of Louisiana. A former Christian missionary turned religious phenomena debunker and her top open-minded student turned personal assistant are sent to investigate. And the student is played by Hilary Swank, and the person who she's helping is played by David Morrissey. You also have Idris Elba, Anna Sophia Robb, Stephen Ray involved in the movie. It's been way too long since I've seen this movie, so I don't even remember. That's why I don't remember who was what in this movie, because I've seen this movie so long ago. But written by the same guys that would later create The Conjuring, so they have written some good stuff. But then these guys also have done The House of Wax, which was not a good movie, and this is definitely a movie that is even worse than House of Wax was. House of Wax at least had some fun ideas overall. This is a bad movie. This is a film that is just... It reminds me so much of a movie like The Seventh Sign with Demi Moore, which I think is a much better movie in general, but it's just lifeless, and there's just nothing really happens in this movie that's exciting, thrilling, or terrifying whatsoever. I mean, not even like all the explosions and all that stuff. Like everything that happens just happens because we don't know why it happens. It just happens. Just go along with it. And no, I don't want to go along with it. Nobody should have to go along with this movie in general. And just Hilary Swank in another misfire in 2007. Because she had Freedom Riders, and then this movie, and then the year is just going to keep going on because she's going to be starting some more garbage at this as the year goes on. But this is not a very good movie, so yeah, not much more to say about this one. The raping sucks. So with all that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, which is another family film that came out this weekend, Firehouse Dog.
Good job, Rex.
Who are you wearing?
He was the hottest thing to hit the big screen.
Compared to you, that Taco Bell dog is just a taquito.
But Hollywood's top dog,
Skydiving stunt, take one.
his parachute didn't open. He's about to hit an all-time low. Now, a dog who needs a home.
End of the line, mutt.
And a kid who needs a friend.
No mom and a firefighter dad.
Well, he's got us.
Lucky him.
Are about to find each other.
Ugh.
This spring,
Dad, maybe he could stick around for a while. I could take care of him and you wouldn't have to deal with him at all.
it may not be easy.
What are you looking at?
Make up a found dog flyer, and I want it posted first thing in the morning. It might even get a little crazy.
Look out! Who are you? Some kind of freak show circus dog? What else you got?
But together, you really want to be responsible for this dog?
Yeah, I do.
They'll show the world what it means to be a hero. Looks like we got some backup. Let's go!
Is that a dog that saved the day?
Yeah, it is.
Who does he belong to?
Engine 55. We're lucky to have him. Firehouse Dog.
Guys, look!
You're one strange dog.
See, Fox made a live-action remake of Bolt before you can get to it, Disney. Even though this movie came out more than a year before Bolt came out, they beat you to it. And I'm sorry, Bolt's the better movie here. But Rex with 3 X's, so I guess he's a porn star dog. I guess Hollywood's top canine star is best known for his extreme athletic abilities and diva-like demeanor. He's a dog. How does he have a diva-like demeanor? But I digress. He gets lost and is reluctantly adopted into a shabby firehouse. He teams up with a young kid played by Josh Hutcherson, who is ditching science class to get the station back on its feet. So, this could really have gone one of two ways. It could have been a very wholesome, heartfelt film like Bolt, or it could have gone somewhere extremely crazy like another movie similar to this, Bingo, or even something like Fluke. This movie doesn't do either one of those things because, man, it's so in the middle, and yet there's nothing of value to it whatsoever. This is a bland, boring, generic kids film. I mean, right down to the bad jokes, the gross-out humor, the waste of some good talent, Josh Hutcherson and Bruce Greenwood, but there's just nothing of value here. It says a lot when this director, who also has done movies like The Wizard and Krippendorf's Tribe, this is his worst. This is his worst film, and yet this is the least crazy of the movies he had done before. And I mean, The Wizard was the movie where, of course, it was nothing but a commercial for Nintendo, and Krippendorf's Tribe have so many moments where you do the Charles Nelson Riley, like things that were just like, how did we get away with this in '98? And yet, this is the movie that is the worst of the bunch, and this is the most sane, the most tepid, the most slow-paced, the most easily accessible movie that he could have made. And this is the worst thing he's ever done as a director. But hey, he's done some great TV work, so I guess there's that. Maybe he should just stick to that. But there's not much more to say about this movie. This is a pretty bland, garbage movie that has nothing of value to it whatsoever. It plays it way too safe. It's boring. It's lifeless. It just has nothing of value to it whatsoever. There's a possibility for something good here, but it's just not there. And there's so many better movies with a similar storyline like this that's done so much better. It's much more clever, and even when it's stupid, like something like Rover Dangerfield, it's at least fun and stupid. This is nothing like that. This is just a bad movie. Just a bad rip-off of Doc Hollywood and Cars, and just avoid it like the plague. So with that said, let us go ahead and move on to our last movie, Richard Gere in The Hoax.
Friday, I'm working on the most important book of the 20th century.
As soon as they find out it's a fake, they'll sue you for libel.
One man will cross the line between fact and fiction. The unbelievably true story. Richard Gere.
The more outrageous I sound, the more convincing I am.
Alfred Molina. The Hoax. Rated R. Starts this Friday in select theaters.
So the story of The Hoax is that this is based on the book of the same name by Clifford Irving, and it recounts Irving, played by Richard Gere here, and his elaborate hoax of publishing an autobiography, I cannot talk today, an autobiography of Howard Hughes that he purposely helped write, without ever having to talk to Hughes. And, yeah, it's definitely a movie that is definitely much different from the book, but then again, most movie adaptations based off books are very different from the original books. I mean, Forrest Gump is one of the best examples of that. The movie is great, but the book sucks. And Irving himself was actually displeased with the project and actually wanted his name removed for the credits. But the movie's pretty good. I mean, I remember liking it. It has a really good cast, including Richard Gere giving a really good performance. You got Alfred Molina, Marcia Gay Harden, Hope Davis, Julie Delpy, Stanley Tucci. A lot of really good talent in here. A fun concept overall that has a lot of intriguing ideas and some really good moments in general that really show that, hey, Richard Gere still got it as an actor as a whole. But is it one of the best movies of the year? I'm not going to go that far, but it's definitely a movie that I think deserves a little bit more of an appreciation to it. And yeah, I thought it was actually really good. I think it's a very underrated film. Features a lot of really good talent. Directed by Lasse Hallström, who usually does not make a lot of bad movies in general. And even when he does, you can tell his intentions were in the right place. But this is a movie that clearly works overall because of how good the performances are, how good the concept is, how good the story is. A lot of it just works overall. And I think it's a very good film, very underrated film, and one you should definitely check out. Definitely check out The Hoax.
House arrest.
If all you could do was watch your neighbors and wonder about their lives,
There's something seriously messed up here.
What should we do?
the truth
You're not the only one who's watching.
could be more frightening than you imagine.
You made me do this.
Disturbia. Rated PG-13. Friday, April 5th.
I mean, you can tell what the movie is basically inspired by, Alfred Hitchcock's Rear Window. And in this movie, this time around, instead of Jimmy Stewart, it's Shia LaBeouf playing the 17-year-old who's placed on house arrest for assaulting his schoolteacher and starts spying on his neighbors, believing that one of them is a serial killer. And it turns out it's David Morse, and if you've seen the movies that he's in, and he's been in since Leaving St. Elsewhere back in the day, yeah, he plays a lot of serial killer type of characters, or characters that have a for the most part, negative impacts in terms of his characters in general. But like I said before, this was the movie that kind of launched Shia LaBeouf as the next big Hollywood star that everyone was expecting him to do. And you know, when you have a movie produced by Steven Spielberg's company, and he's also doing Transformers and working on the next Indiana Jones movie, and then doing another movie with the same director, DJ Caruso. Yeah, it's not going to be surprising to see that this guy's going to take off at some point. And he did take off for a little bit of time, and then he kind of petered off a little bit, but actually, now that I think about it, I don't know what has Shia LaBeouf done recently that I could think of. Okay, he has done more movies than I thought he did. I mean, kind of after the last Transformers movie that Michael Bay did with him and Megan Fox in it. Yeah, the series kind of petered. Actually, now that I don't even think he was Megan Fox was in the last Transformers movie. I should say the last of the Transformers trilogy, Dark of the Moon. And no, she was not in that movie, because I remember there was a falling out between her and Michael Bay for a little bit there. But back to Shia LaBeouf. Yeah, he's done mostly smaller scale movies or movies that haven't been as successful. I mean, he was just recently in Megalopolis, but there was a time when everyone was setting him up to be the next big movie star. And for a little bit between 2007 and maybe around 2014, 2015, he was that guy. And a movie like Disturbia really does show you the guy's acting chops, because he really does shine in this movie in general. I mean, this is not the same kid that was on Even Stevens. This is a guy that this is an actor who is really putting his all into it overall, and it's a really good movie overall. It's a really good modernized version of Rear Window with a lot of really good talent in the young cast. Sarah Romer's really good in here. Aaron Yo, who would later go on to star in stuff like 21 and Friday the 13th. And David Morse, like I said before, the guy plays creepy serial killers and people with negative intentions very well. I mean, the guy's been doing it for so many years. Carrie Ann Moss is also in the movie. Viola Davis is also in here as well. And it's a really good movie, a really intense film that really has a lot of things that we've seen done to death before so many times, but it does it in its own unique stylistic way, working with modern times and working on a setup here that doesn't completely rip off Rear Window, but takes a lot of chances and liberties with it, and creates a film that is very well done and well put together. It's a really good movie. It's definitely a movie that shows Shia LaBeouf's got the acting chops to really become the next great actor, and DJ Caruso's a pretty damn good director, too. I mean, he showed up with a couple of movies he had done beforehand. I really like Two for the Money, and his next movie, Eagle Eye, I think was pretty good, too. But, yeah, this is really good. This is a really good movie. Probably his best overall film as a director, I think. Yeah, I would say probably his best overall film as a director. For a guy that went from directing films like Taking Lives to go from that to this, it's easily a step in the right direction. So, yeah, there's that. But, yeah, definitely check this one out. It's definitely well worth a recommendation. Disturbia. Now let's get to a psychological thriller that's not that good, even though it has too many good stars and people involved in it that should know better. This is James Foley's Perfect Stranger.
Join the agency.
You're Catherine, right? Nice dress.
Nice party. Don't ever speak to Mr. Hill directly.
You join for life.
Her death was no accident.
Now,
I gotta get close to this guy.
the only way out is to beat them
Take this. Install it in his laptop.
at their own game.
Yeah, the league.
Only one thriller this year has the perfect twist.
You've been manipulating this whole thing.
Perfect Stranger. Rated R. In theaters everywhere, April 13th.
The same man that made Glengarry Glen Ross made this movie. One of the great dramas of all time. Oh, how far he's fallen in the 15 years since then. Halle Berry stars as Rowena Price, a muck-racking reporter for a New York paper. When a story about a closeted gay senator who preaches family values is spiked, she quits and soon finds herself investigating the grisly murder of a childhood friend. Her friend has been dubbed by an ad executive, Harrison Hill, played by Bruce Willis, so he's Rowena's prime suspect. Rowena gets a job at an ad agency as a temp, and she's soon the object of Hill's attentions. She's helped in her subterfuge by Miles Haley, a friend of the paper, played by Giovanni Ribisi, who has a secret thing for her. Everyone, it seems, has secrets, including Hill, who must keep his affairs from his wife. Her money fuels his lifestyle. Murder will out. Yeah, this is one of those movies where, kind of like with Premonition the month before, it's a movie that has one of those twist endings that they hype up as this twist ending you'll never see coming, and you see it coming and it's just like, wow, this is absolutely horrible. Not as bad as the one in Premonition, but no, it's pretty bad. It's just as bad. It's not, I mean, it's almost, I should say almost as bad, but then again, this movie just has nothing of value to it whatsoever. And like I said, James Foley has made a lot of good movies, and this is definitely not one of them. Halle Berry and Bruce Willis have done a lot of great stuff. Giovanni Ribisi's made a lot of great stuff. This movie is really, really stupid. It's a movie that tries to sell itself as this psychological thriller, but it also wants to sell itself as an erotic thriller, too. And, yeah, you don't get it. There is no chemistry between Halle Berry and Bruce Willis in this movie at all. And that's, for two seasoned actors like them to do that, that's just, like, that is just such a missed opportunity on so many levels. And, yeah, I can't really say too much more about this one. This one's not a very good movie. It's a pretty bland film overall. It's very generic. It's lackluster. It's not a good movie whatsoever. And you just expect so much more with the talent on board here. And it just takes the cheap way out when it's all said and done. There's nothing of value to this film whatsoever. So, not much more to say about that one. Avoid Perfect Stranger like the plague. So with that said, let us move on to our next movie, which is Pathfinder.
Years before Christopher Columbus, Vikings came to the New World and killed without mercy. When they return, the one they left behind will be the only one who can stop them.
What will you do? Kill as many as I can. And after? There'll be no after.
Carl Urban, Pathfinder, Legend of the Ghost Warrior. Rated R for strong, brutal violence throughout. April 13th, only in theater.
So many things wrong with that trailer alone that just tells you everything that you need to know to not see this movie. A Viking boy is left behind after his clan battles a Native American tribe. Raised within the tribe, he ultimately becomes their savior in a fight against the Norsemen. He would be called Ghost, and he's with a group of Viking coloniers who planned to exterminate the local population. Their dragon ship was somehow destroyed with the passengers brutally killed, leaving Ghost as the traumatized sole survivor. Yeah, this is one of those movies where you just, as 20th Century Fox looked and said, what do we have here? What can we find that's a property, and we can make a quick buck off of it? Well, we have this graphic novel, we have this movie that was originally based off of a Norwegian film, but we could sell it as a graphic novel adaptation. Okay, let's just do that, because nobody had ever heard of Pathfinder before this, and nobody remembers Pathfinder before this. And it's hard to believe that this is the guy that would turn his career around playing two iconic characters in Dr. McCoy in the Star Trek movies by J.J. Abrams, and then later as Judge Dredd. Who would have thought that this guy would turn his career around? But yeah, Carl Urban, he's got a lot of personality to him, but this is one of those movies where it's just like, yeah, this is just not worth it. Even with him trying his best to save the film, it's a lazy film in general. It's a film that is really lackluster in terms of what kind of a story it wants to tell. The strong, brutal, gory violence that they advertise in the trailer, it's nothing spectacular. It's nothing amazing. It's just generic stuff. And that's not how you're going to sell a movie in general. And not surprisingly, this movie was a massive failure at the box office. It only made back $30 million of its $45 million budget, but it at least made back $22 million in DVD sales, so I guess they made back somewhat of their profits. But who thought that this was going to be any kind of success whatsoever? Honestly. Like, yeah, this is just not a good movie. It's a lackluster movie. The action's not that interesting. The visuals aren't that impressive. The acting's pretty bad. It's just not a good movie. So yeah, you can avoid Pathfinder. And you can also avoid our next movie too, which is another Fast and Furious clone. This is Redline.
What planet is this?
This is where fortunes are won. And lost.
25 million bucks?
What's a gamble if you don't gamble?
You could have just honked the horn. That would be rude.
Redline. Rated PG-13. In theaters everywhere. April 13th.
It's so much of a Fast and Furious clone, they actually had to take the original title of the movie because of the Fast and Furious to sell it. I mean, no joke. This was a movie that was literally the original work. The title of this was originally the working title for the Fast and the Furious, and this is a movie that is just so much just a bad knockoff of that. The film's plot centers around a street racing circle funded by a group of multimillionaires who wage millions of dollars over their high-powered sports cars. There are no real stars in this movie in general. No big directors in particular here. If the biggest name in this movie is Chloe Lane from Days of Our Lives, it's not. That's probably not a good sign in general. But Nadia Bajoran, by the way, is her name, and beautiful woman. But good. But yeah, that's the only reason they have her in this movie, because she's a beautiful looking woman. She looks great in spandex and tight pants. So yeah, let's bring her in here. And yeah, you thought Biker Boys and Torque were the last Fast and Furious ripoffs we get? Oh no! It's just the beginning here. But what's interesting about this is that the movie itself is largely forgotten, but the story behind the movie and how it got funded still is very much around. No joke. This movie's more notable for the fact that it was funded by subprime loans issued by the producer Daniel Sadek's company, Quick Loan Funding, and closed its doors in the wake of the subprime mortgage crisis that would take place a couple years later, and actually was featured on a CNBC special that was literally about the excess of pre-meltdown mortgage markets in the United States. So this movie it's one of those movies that has a reputation not because of what happened is of the legacy of the movie itself, but because of just the fact that this movie really just was just like made by everything about it just felt like it was a plot. And I find this pretty hilarious. Cartoon Network sued Sadak for failing to pay the U.S. $845,000 advertising fee. Like, Cartoon Network sued this movie. This is not a movie that should be anywhere near involved with Cartoon Network, but lo and behold, that's exactly what happened. And yeah, you could just tell this movie was just such a clusterfuck of a film. It has no positive reviews from critics. It's been considered one of the worst car movies of all time, and it has this notorious legacy behind it. Just everything about this movie just feels like it's so wrong. It's so badly put together, and now it's starting to make more sense why the biggest star of the movie is from a soap opera of all things. I mean, granted, yeah, Eddie Griffith and Tim Matheson are in here too, but they're not really big stars in general. No, at least not now they aren't, or especially around this time. But yeah, this is a bad movie. This is a really, really terrible movie. Not quite as bad as Biker Boys or Torque, but definitely very much up there in general. So how about we go back to some, I won't say great movies, but better movies than you would think they were. Let's take a look at Aqua Teen Hunger Force, the movie. Oh, I'm sorry, Aqua Teen Hunger Force, movie film for theaters.
An ancient wizard. A child with a secret. A woman with a past. How y'all doing? A galaxy torn asunder. A cop on the edge.
Where are my freaking pants?
A hidden tomb. A mythical kingdom. An ancient, mythical, secret kingdom tomb. Guy that runs the tomb. And a flaming chicken. In 2007, none of these things appear in Aqua Teen Hunger Force, movie film for theaters. Except the chicken.
Welcome home, baby.
From the first assistant director of the second unit of Hellraiser 3, Hell on Earth, and the production assistant of the video, Know Your Fryer, comes the adventure of a lifetime. An animated epic featuring 3 all-new backgrounds and 5 characters.
Did you see that chicken guy running around?
And this chicken.
That guy was weird.
Aqua Teen Hunger Force, the movie film for theater.
I don't remember any of this.
I mean, when I think of a movie about Aqua Teen Hunger Force being produced by Adult Swim, that's kind of the trailer I expect to see for a movie like this. Aqua Teen Hunger Force, movie film for theaters. This is, of course, a feature film adaptation of the Adult Swim TV series Aqua Teen Hunger Force, in which you have Master Shake, Frylock, and Meatwad, better known as the Aqua Teens, where the homies say ho and the girlies want to scream, as they join forces with the Plutonians and the cybernetic ghost of Christmas past from the future to prevent a piece of exercise equipment from creating destruction, all while the Aqua Teens must puzzle together their existence and search for their creator. Again, a plot that feels very much in line with Aqua Teen Hunger Force in general. And yeah, it's very important that you go into this movie knowing what Aqua Teen Hunger Force is, because if you go into this with the mindset of, with little to no knowledge about what this movie is about or what these characters are, then you're going to really feel like you've just wasted an hour and a half of your time. I was lucky enough to actually go see this movie. I unfortunately had to drive out to a theater out by, it's a further away theater than the theater I was usually going to. I had to go out to Pittsburgh Mills because that was the only theater that was showing it, but they were only showing it at nighttime, so I went there to like a 7:30 screening of it, and to be honest, there was a decent amount of people there in general, and yeah, it was a good fun time overall. And yeah, watching it again all these years later, I still kind of enjoy the hell out of it. Like I said, you need to go into the Aqua Teen Hunger Force series in general knowing what kind of craziness you're going into, because Aqua Teen Hunger Force has a lot of craziness to it, and so much of this is in this movie. Nothing about this movie will make any sense to newcomers. If you know the lore of the show, if you know exactly what you're going into, you can have the time of your life watching it. But if you want my honest opinion, looking back on it now, I will say that the animation overall definitely doesn't feel like it's worth seeing on a big screen like this. I feel like this isn't as epic as it could be. I mean, the sequel they did not too long ago, Aqua Teen Forever Plantasm, I think is a much better movie in general in terms of like the scope and scale. It still keeps the appreciation and the lore of what makes Aqua Teen Hunger Force so fun, and I think it has a much better animation budget right from the get-go. Like, you could tell they put a lot more effort into it, a lot more animation is put into it in general, and at least has a reason to exist that could have existed on a big screen in general. But like I said before, with Aqua Teen Hunger Force, you need to go in knowing what exactly that you're going in for, and if you go in there knowing what you're going in for, if you like the show, you're going to have the hell of a time with it. If you're not a fan of the show, I'd say step away, but it was pretty fun seeing this on the big screen for the first time and going back to it not too long ago, and still enjoying it, although I will say it's definitely not as good as the sequel Plantasm, which I think is a much better movie in general, but nevertheless, it's Aqua Teen Hunger Force, where the homies say hurl and the girlies want to scream. #1 in the hood, G. So yeah, take that for what you will. That's Aqua Teen Hunger Force, movie film for theaters. Let's go ahead and wrap the show up by taking a look at our last film here, Mike White's Year of the Dog, starring Molly Shannon.
Do you sleep with your dogs?
Guilty.
It's been a while since
Well, we don't have to do anything.
Oh.
I love
So Year of the Dog tells the story of Molly Shannon, who's a woman who goes from having one pet dog at home to becoming a vegan and an animal rights activist. She forms a relationship with Peter Skarsgård. You also have Laura Dern, Regina King, John C. Reilly. This is written and directed by Mike White, who had done School of Rock before this, and of course would later go on to create shows like The White Lotus, as well as work on a ton of different projects, including Illumination's recent 2 films, Migration and Despicable Me 4. Migration is easily the better of the 2 movies, but yeah, this is a really good movie, and for Molly Shannon, who hadn't really done a whole lot of leading film work after she had left Saturday Night Live in 2001, you would still see her in some things, like in some TV shows, some movies, but I believe this was her first major film starring role since Superstar. I could be wrong on that, but I don't think I am. I think this is the first big leading role she's had in a movie since Superstar came out in 1999. So it's been 8 years, and the movie actually is a lighthearted, fun little comedy. All the characters are really good to watch. I like the chemistry between Molly Shannon and Peter Skarsgård. You got talents like Laura Dern, Regina King, and John C. Reilly. I mean, they usually don't ever turn in bad performances. And the dogs are cute, too. I mean, who doesn't love dogs, honestly? I mean, what more can you say, man? This is a film that is it's very much a fun, lighthearted comedy. It definitely is very quirky. It has a lot of great things about it, from the comedy to the dramatic elements. It's a really good movie. It's one I really do recommend a lot. It's a very good film. Not bad for a directorial debut from the guy who wrote School of Rock. Yeah, so that is Year of the Dog.
I don't need the gun to convince you. Anthony Hopkins, Ryan Gosling in a sleek, surprising, surefire thriller. Doesn't bother you when I call you Willie. Don't make me come close to Willie. Fracture, rated R. Starts April 20th.
Okay, Anthony, we want you to be in this movie, but we want you to be Hannibal Lecter without actually being Hannibal Lecter, the character. Give me the script, I'm in. And that's pretty much how this movie probably came to be, and I would not be shocked at all if that's the case. It's the story of a man who shoots his unfaithful wife, played by Hopkins, and then engages in a battle of wits with a young assistant district attorney, played by Ryan Gosling. And, yeah, it is pretty much just that, a psychological thriller where Anthony Hopkins just gets into the head of Ryan Gosling, sort of like how Hannibal Lecter's the character Hopkins plays in Silence of the Lambs gets into the head of Jodie Foster, and then Julianne Moore in Hannibal, and then in Red Dragon with Edward Norton. And definitely not a great movie overall, but you've got two seasoned actors who've been very good in a lot of the movies they've been in. They both work off each other so well here. So yeah, it's hard not to see why this. It's hard to see why this movie. It's hard not to. What am I trying to say here? It's hard not to see this working, and it does work. It works very well. The mystery overall is really impressive, especially considering that this guy did kill his wife, but did he do it for the right reasons, or is this just part of a sinister game that he's playing with Gosling's character? And they do work off each other really well here, both Ryan Gosling and Anthony Hopkins, where it does work to so many levels. You got also have a strong cast that includes David Strathairn, Rosamund Pike, Embeth Davidtz, Billy Burke, Cliff Curtis, Fiona Shaw, Bob Gutton, Xander Berkeley, Zoe Kazan is also in the movie as well. And it just works. It's a really engaging thriller, a really engaging mystery overall, and it's a really impressive film that does take a pretty standard storyline and actually makes it work to its full advantages. And it's a movie that I kind of enjoyed. I don't think it's a great film overall, but it definitely is a lot better than it lets on with those trailers. But I liked it a lot. Fracture. With that said, let's move on to the next movie we have here. Luke Wilson and Kate Beckinsale starring in the thriller Vacancy.
Fucking howdy, folks. Our car actually broke down.
I'm slipping in my clothes.
I should have gotten off the interstate. The trap has been set. They have cameras everywhere.
Oh my God.
We gotta get out of here. It's just begun. It's not enough that they kill people. They want to watch it too. They can see.
You'll never survive lose control, Mr. Thomas.
Rated R. Everywhere Friday.
So as the trailer kind of tells you here, Luke Wilson and Kate Beckinsale are a married couple who book at this motel after their car breaks down, and they're soon stalked by masked killers for their snuff films as they come across the snuff film videos in their hotel room, and they put it together that, yeah, this is the room that they're making these videos in. And kind of like with Fracture, it's a very similar story. We've seen done it so many times before, but just like with Fracture, they do kind of take some unique abilities with it, unique, interesting aspects to it, if you will, of how to make this work without seeing too very formulaic. And I thought it did a pretty good job of handling that. This is directed by Nimrod Atal, who later would go on to direct Predators, which I think is a very underrated Predator movie that doesn't get the attention I think it deserves, but it's actually a really good movie overall. Probably one of the better Predator sequels out there, but yeah, this is one that works very well. You can buy Kate Beckinsale and Luke Wilson as this couple who gets stuck in this situation. Frank Whaley, who I hadn't seen in a long time, plays a really good role here as the motel manager. And Ethan Embry's also in here too. He's very good. The tension is very good too. It's a horror film that doesn't rely heavily on gore, which is, considering some of the movies we've looked at in the last month, in the last month I've done these videos. That's a good thing, because yeah, this proves that you don't need a lot of gore. You just need a good mystery, a good creep factor to it, and you can make a really good movie out of it. And this is a really good movie, a really entertaining film that, yeah, takes a lot of liberties with stuff that we've seen done before and actually does something different with it, takes chances with it. And I like what they went with it, the direction they went with it. I think it's a very good film. It's definitely a film you should definitely check out, Vacancy. But if there's one movie you're going to check out that comes out this weekend, it is this movie here. Let's talk about easily the best movie of the weekend, one of the best movies of the year, one of the greatest comedies of all time, and that is the second part of the Cornetto trilogy, Edgar Wright's Hot Fuzz.
Excuse me.
Super cult. Meet the cult. The cult be stopped.
Let's cut through here. Come on. Through the gardens.
What's the matter, Danny? You never taken a shortcut before?
Ah, the famous fence scene from every one of these movies. Yeah, what's the matter, Danny? You ever heard of a shortcut? And then just all the different ways they use the fences in these movies. I mean, that's one of the charms of this trilogy in general. The Three Favors Cornetto trilogy, of course, this is the second film of that series. The most successful one of the bunch in terms of critical success and commercial success. And in the film, you have Simon Pegg starring as Nicholas Angel, who's an elite London police officer whose proficiency makes the rest of his team look bad, causing him to be reassigned to a West County village where a series of gruesome deaths take place. You have Nick Frost starring as Constable Daniel Butterman, and also Jim Broadbent and Timothy Hutton also star in the movie. And, what can you say, man? Hot Fuzz is one of the greatest comedies of all time. I mean, this is a film that is a parody and a loving parody of classic action comedies, action films in general. Over 100 action films were used as the inspiration for the script for this. I mean, this is a film that knows what it needs to do to entertain the hell out of you, and it does just that. The fun factor is great. Simon Pegg and Nick Frost are two wonderfully gifted comic talents, and when they get together, it's almost instantly comedy gold. I mean, this is a film that just works on so many levels. So many quotable lines in this movie. Just a beautifully fun, over-the-top movie that just works on every single level. I mean, honestly, there's really not much more I can say about this movie. I mean, the concept alone is hilarious. Simon Pegg's character is sent to another police district. Why? Not because he's doing a bad job, but because he's doing a too good of a job. And that concept alone is just instant comedy gold right from the get-go, because he gets put in this place where, yeah, again, where he's just way too overpowered by his own abilities as a cop, and just like everything about this movie is just pure instant gold on so many levels. It's a fantastic movie. This series is great, and hey, it gives me another excuse to pop out these little beauties again, because these are my pride and joy, and I spent almost $600 to get all of these, so I will gladly show these off once again. I mean, just look at this. Just look at how cool that is. I mean, yeah. And basically, I brought these out just to show these off again, because these really are is my pride and joy. The fact that I spent so much money on these, and I don't regret it one bit, because these are absolutely amazing. Plus, they're still worth $5,000 on eBay right now, so I ain't getting rid of these beauties anytime soon. That's for damn sure. So, but with all of that said, that is Hot Fuzz for you. A great movie. I mean, what more do I need to say that hasn't already been said already? So, let's go ahead and move on to our last film that we have here, and that is In the Land of Women.
Webb needed to get away. Hi, Grandma. But he never expected.
I'll make some cookies.
Okay,
Grandma, I got it.
The women next door.
There's a party tonight. Come with me. You're older, intelligent, mysterious.
I am mysterious. I'm gonna have to call you back.
You think you can step into my hood and expect not to be scrapping directly? What?
Carter, will you marry me?
In the Land of Women.
Every misogynist's worst nightmare, being in the land of women. But cheap way to start this off here, but we have Adam Brody starring as an LA softcore porn writer, Carter Webb, who's frustrated enough after his actor's girlfriend dumps him to need a serious break. He decides to spend it with his grandmother, who can't really take care of him and his Detroit suburb house anymore. Helpful Carter soon overcomes mishaps to bond with a foxy neighbor, played by Kristen Stewart, across the street, and her daughters, helping them actually help her regain perspective and self-confidence. And among the people in the cast here, you have the aforementioned Adam Brody, Kristen Stewart, Meg Ryan is also in here, Jo Beth Williams, Olivia Dukakis, a lot of recognizable talents in here. Joe Mantegna's daughter, Gia Mantegna, is in here too, and I mean, a film that probably should have a lot more to it, but it really does not. It's a movie that is pretty lackluster in general, and this is a shame because it comes from a director like Jonathan Kasdan, who has made some pretty good stuff over the course of his career. And, of course, comes from a very successful family of filmmakers. I mean, Lawrence Kasdan's a great director. Jake Kasdan has had some really good movies over his career. And you expect a lot more from him in general, but this is one of those films that could have had something really special to it, but it just really does not. It's very lifeless. It feels like a film that doesn't really have a whole lot there, except for the fact that, hey, we've got these big names in here. And even for the chick flick fans, like, this like a movie that like this would probably fit well on Lifetime, but even then, I think even then, Lifetime movies have much more to them than something like this. This just feels very lifeless. There's no real motivation to anything that goes on in the movie. It just feels kind of boring and bland. It just doesn't work as a whole. I mean, it's a film that has its promise to it, has some potential there. It's good to see Meg Ryan on the big screen once again, but other than that, though, there's really no reason to see this movie in general. It feels very lifeless. There's nothing really about it that makes it work, and yeah. Just didn't work for me. So yeah, a hard skip on In the Line of Women. In the Line of Women, good lord.
He is everything a mother could want.
So we're gonna go to Ava's party tomorrow night?
Holmes, we heard him last class.
I didn't get Nick Powell's home. It doesn't even rhyme.
What's your problem, man?
It didn't have to rhyme.
Can I say something? I wrote the poem.
Whatever it sucked.
Is this a game? You think this is funny?
Whoa! Can anybody hear me?
Saw me. Can you help me?
You'll never be seen again.
My son is missing.
You must be in class right now, Mrs. Powell.
They can't touch you. They can't hear you.
I'm right here!
But if you can solve the mystery of your own death, then you'll have the chance to live again.
Immediately after I stopped recording, I realized that this was not the directorial debut for David S. Goyer. This is actually his third film as a director. And the last film he directed was Blade Trinity, a movie that I think I honestly would like to forget. But anyway, this movie did have some potential to it. I like the concept of it. You have Justin Chatwin as an excellent high school student who raises money by selling homework and results of quizzes to his schoolmates. He aims to travel to London for a writer's course, telling his best friend Pete Egan that he had already bought the airplane ticket, but he hadn't told his mother yet. Annie Newton has a problem with Pete, who owes her money. As events unfold due to a case of mistaken identity, Nick takes a severe beating from Annie and her group, and his body is dumped in a sewer. The next morning, he discovers he cannot be seen. He's now a spirit in a state of limbo, and can only be observed as the events of the day unfold. A really clever, cool concept in general, but kind of like with the movie Premonition, it's a movie that is very much style over substance, and it's also a film that has a pretty lackluster and kind of lame twist ending at the end of it. I mean, this is a film that really is something that is just like, it starts off so promisingly with the good ideas they have involved here, and then it just turns into one of the most blandest and most forgettable thrillers you'll ever experience. And it's just such a shame because, you know, David S. Goyer has proven that he can write some good stuff time and time again. But when it comes to his directing movies, his films that he's directed, those films really did not work at all. A lot of them have not been that great at all. I can't even remember one good film he directed in general. And the films that he directed include Zigzag. There's also Blade Trinity, as I mentioned before, and also The Unborn. Then again, his writing credits as of late have not been that great either. You know, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, Terminator: Dark Fate. He did write Hellraiser though, so there's at least something there. I mean, he's not a bad filmmaker as a whole, but just when it comes to like the movies he directs, he just picks some really bad movies. And I think it's because he's not involved in the script for the most part. But then again, he was involved in the script of Blade Trinity, so maybe this is just a bad script overall. And yeah, it just really, really feels like a film that just doesn't work as a whole. It just feels like a film that really, like, there's so much potential to it in terms of the plot, in terms of what they could do with it, and they just don't deliver on it. And I was just really bummed when I watched the end of the movie. It was just like, really? This is the way we're going out to it? And yeah, it just didn't work as a whole. It was a really bad movie, and I was very disappointed by it overall. So yeah, a massive disappointment. I thought there was a very good idea involved in here, but just good ideas, bad execution overall. Now, if you want to talk about a movie that had some ideas, and they were all bad ideas in general, our next movie definitely is that. Nicolas Cage starring in Next.
It just hasn't happened yet. Now, the man who can see the future. It happened 2 hours from now. Is the only one.
We're still alive. Let's try to keep it that way.
Who can save it?
Pull back, pull back. Do exactly what I say. I'll save your life.
Next.
You have one way out of this. That was an A.
Rated PG-13 starts April 27th.
Actually, Nick, none of the outcomes that you found have you getting out of a movie like this. I mean, good lord, this is a bad movie. I mean, he made a lot of bad movies back in the day, but this has to be up there with some of the worst of the worst. I mean, movies like The Wicker Man are at least so bad it's good type of fun. This is a movie that's just so bad it's bad. And it's really, really bad. This is based off of a story by Philip K. Dick, and this should not be that hard to make into a movie, but with good directors, you probably don't need to worry about that, but not when you have the director of XXX State of the Union and Die Another Day. In the film, Nicolas Cage stars as a small-time magician based in Los Angeles who has limited pre-recognition. His ability is allowing him to see the very immediate future. He gets that not only makes him a target of a highly motivated and heavily armed group of terrorists, but also puts him in the crosshairs of the FBI who want to recruit him to oppose those terrorists instead. And the movie pretty much is what you think it is, a wannabe reject Michael Bay movie with a mix of, you know, let's show off Jessica Biel's big boobs. There's literally one scene in the movie where I swear to God, they only have it there because Jessica Biel's got big boobs, and it's just like, let's put a blanket all over her and just focus on that. That's the only reason that one scene in the movie exists. Everything else about this movie is absolutely terrible. It's a terrible movie. It's a poorly put together movie that has nothing of value to it whatsoever. It isn't clever. The action sequences are terrible. The one-liners in this movie are absolutely awful. Everybody in this movie is completely wasted on here. The visuals look terrible. This is a $78 million movie. You cannot tell me that you thought for $78 million this was good enough in terms of the production value. No, I'm not buying into that whatsoever. The movie just sucks. The movie absolutely is awful. It's not entertaining whatsoever. It's a bad movie. It's a terrible film. Avoid it like the plague. Plain and simple. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie. Another movie that had some potential to it, but no, not so much. Stone Cold Steve Austin starring in the second film from WWE Films, and that is The Condemned.
10 contestants from thoroughbred prisons. You'll fight against each other. I'll set the last one left alive. 3. Game on.
You're airing a live snuff film.
Condemned. Rated R. In theaters April 27th.
So imagine kind of a mix of The Running Man meets Survivor meets Death Race. That's the kind of movie that this is. You have 10 convicts who are forced to fight each other to the death as part of an illegal game on this island, which is being broadcast to the public. And among the people involved in this are Stone Cold Steve Austin and Vinnie Jones. And there's a good idea in this movie, but kind of like with some of the other movies we've talked about here, good ideas, bad execution. And this definitely is one of those movies. But not only that, the message of the movie is so hypocritical and is so... it so goes against everything that these companies have put out and are represented, well known for. You know, me trying to explain it is just too much. So why don't I let Film Brain from Bad Movie Beatdown, from his review, explain everything that's wrong with the message of this movie.
Entertainers are going to make a difference, all right?
So what about children?
Look, Don, we as entertainers cannot tailor-make everything we do for children. It's the parents' responsibility to monitor what their kids watch.
That's a cop-out, Ian, and you know it. You have to take some responsibility.
Oh, fuck off, movie, you hypocritical piece of shit. What you just did there was advocate censorship. And for what? Oh, won't someone please think of the children, screamed Helen Lovejoy. So apparently, we can't do difficult subjects in film and media because some lousy parents might allow their child to watch it. That is a very dangerous and slippery slope to go down. And I may not agree with your stupid message, but I will defend your right to make a violent, patronising movie about it. What's that? Your movie is rated R in the United States? It has an 18+ age rating in the UK? Wow, that doesn't make The Condemned exactly the sort of violent movie that itself is commenting on, does it? I guess no one told the filmmakers that children were going to be watching when they included brutal violence and a rape scene. And who put out this movie? Oh, that's right, the WWE, which makes a living off of staged, spectacled violence available on pay-per-view. I guess we shouldn't watch their product. Oops. Or how about Lionsgate, the house that Jigsaw built with an annual goodie bag of torture year after year? Now, I'm not saying these views represent these two companies, but this is their product, so seeing an anti-violence sentiment seems spectacularly ill-advised.
Couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, you have a studio that was home to the Saw movies and Hostel. You have the WWE, which its entire existence is focused on scripted violence in general. And the moral of the movie is, well, it's your own damn fault for letting your kids watch it. No, it is not my fault for letting my kids watch it. It's your fault for trying to force that message onto people when you're trying to force this message, and it makes no sense whatsoever. Like, everybody in this movie is a slime ball. Everybody in this movie is not to be trusted whatsoever. The only person in this movie that I feel like you could trust in any way, shape, or form in here is Stone Cold Steve Austin. And even then, he's not the best person overall here, but give him credit. He's the one guy who's at least trying. He has a couple of dramatic moments in here that are actually kind of good. And I'm not going to lie, there are a couple moments in here that did kind of make me laugh. Like, there's a scene where one of the convicts is trying to hit on this girl, and, you know, she's actually trying to trick him by talking, and then all of a sudden just letting go of his grenade, and he's just like, "Oh, the bitch got me again, not again, not again." And he explodes. Like, stuff like that is very corny and very funny, and it works to the film's advantage. But those are very few moments in this movie. The moments where you're supposed to have like a message about, you know how this is wrong and all that, and just like, the ending, even the ending of the movie when they take down the bad guy. The bad guy is just as slimy and as scumbaggy as everybody else in the movie, and just the writing on this is so terrible. The action sequences aren't that engaging or entertaining whatsoever. Even when the villain gets his comeuppance in the end, it does not feel warranted whatsoever. The only things that come out of this movie unscathed are Stone Cold Steve Austin and Vinnie Jones, who both have pretty good moments overall in the film in terms of acting. Like, they really do show what they could do in terms of acting in this, and they're very good moments, a lot of them in this film with them, especially when they're talking towards the end of the movie, like stuff like, but it's very few and far between, and just the overall, the moral of the story is absolutely just a ridiculous cop-out. It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It's a bad movie. It's a really bad film with just nothing of value to it whatsoever. Another one you should avoid like the plague. And with all that said, let's go ahead and move on to the last one we have here, which is Jamie Kennedy in a new comedy, and that is Kicking It Old School.
In 1986, Justin was the best breakdancer around.
Hey, Jen, I got you something.
Hello, McFly.
Until one move took him down. 20 years later, he's waking up.
We should have paid for that physical therapy thing.
That's my boy.
To a whole new world.
I think it's time I introduce you to
Internet. Bodies I'm supposed to midget, cheese whiz. Power of Grayskull.
And discovering the more things change,
Ain't nobody wear parachute pants no more. Parachute pants are timeless.
the more he's stayed the same.
Oh my God, Justin!
You really grew up.
Oh my God.
Okay.
It's like you're a 12-year-old stuck in a 30-year-old body.
I missed everything. Gremlins 2, Ghostbusters 2.
Justin, we need to talk. I'm getting married.
Ow!
Kip, you remember Justin?
You're the jackass that flipped off the stage when you were kids. Oh my God, I thought you were dead.
Okay, I think we could stop right there. I think you pretty much have every idea of what this movie is and why it is such a terrible movie. You have Jamie Kennedy, who's a young breakdancer who hits his head during a talent show in 1986 and slips into a coma, waking in 2006. He looks to revive the team with the help of his girlfriend and his parents. And Blast from the Past, the much better Brendan Fraser, Alicia Silverstone movie. At least that one didn't have as many pop culture references as this movie does. And this is a movie that's almost as bad on the level of a Friedberg Seltzer movie, with just how unnecessary the pop culture references are in this movie. They're all over the place, and they're just not funny. They're just there to be there for the sake of being there, and the film is just, it's a terrible movie. Just a lot of bad talent all across the film. Talent that deserves much better than this. Like, I've seen Jamie Kennedy be funny and stuff. I've seen Bobby Lee be funny and stuff. You know, I've seen Michael Rosenbaum be good and stuff. I've seen Vivica A. Fox and stuff. When you have to throw in a cameo from Alan Ruck from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and you also have to have him as as the same character he played in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, in a movie that has nothing to do with Ferris Bueller's Day Off, except the fact that it came out in the same year that this guy went into a coma. I mean, that's the problem right there. Like, Maria Menounos is playing the leading female actress in this movie, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'd rather watch those terrible Nuvi commercials with her at the front of them again than watch this movie again. That's how bad this is. Like, that's how terrible this movie is. It's not funny. It's not clever. It makes Son of the Mask. Son of the Mask feels like a much better movie by comparison. And I can't believe I'm even saying that because of how much I hate Son of the Mask so much. But that's how I feel about this movie. At least Son of the Mask was at least trying to do something, and it didn't work, but it at least was trying. This is just, ugh. This is just a mess of a movie. A bad film on so many levels. Just a disgusting film in general. Not funny, not clever, really stupid, unfunny, just a waste of talent, too many freaking pop culture references. I hate this movie so much. Like, it's amazing this isn't one of my worst movies of all time, because this is definitely right up there. If not in the top 30, it would have been definitely somewhere in the top 40. That's how bad this is. This is, I think you get the hint here. Kick in an old school, just kick it to the curb and avoid it like the plague.